Good
Superb.
evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Monday Movies, which is a special podcast where I am joined by the one and only Tom Gibbs, aka Better Call Gibbsy, aka Gibbsy. Gibbsy,
That's
how you
me.
doing?
I'm at your service. How's things going, Stan?
I'm all good, man. It's great to have you on board. Gibbsy and I, obviously, we did a little score together a few years ago now, and we're back now
Yeah.
during lockdown to give you a very special episode on RoboCop, which is admittedly a film that I love. It's my favourite film. Gibbsy, where do you stand on RoboCop?
I'm not as passionate a fan of RoboCop as you are, Stan. I don't know if anyone is in this world.
Yeah.
As you can see behind you. But I have seen the film a couple of times, and I did enjoy it for the most part.
It's a film for me that is encapsulated in its main character. Obviously, the first thing people think of is RoboCop, Alex Murphy. And where I stand on it is the more I watch RoboCop and the older I get, the more I appreciate that RoboCop isn't simply about that main character. There is so much more to that film. It's the supporting characters, it's the setting, it's the world, it's the music, it's the filming, it's the direction. For me, it's a really special film. And I find myself every time rewatching it discovering something new.
Yeah. It seems that, yeah, as you said, there's a bunch more content within the film that can be unraveled just by having a few rewatches. I remember distinctly in the very first scene or so that you get given a news clip for events that are taking place around the world, and I think a couple of them mention OCP and how they are either impacting or have been impacted by these events, which is a nice little bit of world building for you before you get into the main story to do with RoboCop and its relationship with OCP.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It introduces you to that kind of satire of the world straight away, and it's a really politically astute opening because, as you said, you introduce what's happening on, I believe it's the Star Wars orbiting peace platform in space, the space station, which is kind of funny. There's a war going on in South Africa, and yeah, obviously it introduces Dick Jones and many important characters through that opening scene, and it is kind of iconic. And that's what I love about RoboCop, is that its sense of humor is so brilliant and clever. What's your favorite scene in RoboCop?
My favorite scene, I've got a couple of favorite scenes, but I've got three that I can think of off the top of my head. But if I were to choose my favorite one, it would have to be the petrol station scene.
Brilliant.
I know I'd probably an unexpected one at the most, but where you've got Emil, robbing that man at gunpoint. That poor kid reading his geometry textbook.
That's a lovely little detail as well. Sorry to interrupt you, Gibbsy, but there's that lovely little detail about that poor kid. You a college boy or something? I just love that. I think Ed Neumeyer, the writer, he comments upon it in one of the extras on the new Blu-ray. That is such a small little detail, and apparently the director Paul Verhoeven inserted that just to give the world a little bit more character. That it just so happens at a gas station, this little kid would be studying geometry. So, or is it trigonometry? Is it trigonometry or geometry?
It's one of the geometries. I abandoned mathematics long ago.
Yes, yeah. I interrupt. I apologise.
But yes, the petrol station scene where you've got Emil filling up his bike in a rather interesting way with bringing a cigarette to a petrol station, not what you do. But you've got RoboCop sort of coming at him, and Emil at first doesn't recognize him, but then as soon as he says the quote, sort of, dead or alive, you're coming with me. In that tone, you see that look on Emil's face, like, wait a minute, I know you.
We killed you.
We killed you. Yeah, you're supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
But you've got the moment where RoboCop at the time, or Murphy, as he's been told by Lewis at the time that he is Alex Murphy, I believe. And so it's shortly after that, but it sort of unfolds more as to it starts to unfold the human life that Alex Murphy had before he became RoboCop, and that's also the scene that I noticed where RoboCop has the sort of the synthetic voice up until the point where he realizes that he'd been killed by Emil and the gang that worked with Clarence Boddicker, and it's at that point where it sort of cuts off, and you start to see Alex Murphy's human voice. So you start to hear it.
Yeah,
I thought that's a very interesting touch, and it's a very nicely chosen moment within the film.
It's a really intricate moment of sound design as well, isn't it? Because I don't think we've spoken about that before. I never noticed that. For me, where Murphy really starts to come through is actually in the scene where Lewis at the shooting range sees him doing the little gun trick from TJ Laser, which is
Oh
obviously
yes.
role models can be very important for a boy. That's a that's the first hint that Murphy is still inside, and it's very tastefully done. Because I don't know about you, there's RoboCop for me is also a film that there's a cheaper, lazier film version of it out there, and it's called the remake. But where
Of
you
course,
suck
of
out
course.
all the subtlety and all the nuance, and you could very easily replace that TJ Laser gun flip scene with someone saying, "Oh, Murphy's still inside him." But there's none of that. It's very implicit. You work it out for yourself, and I think that's the genius of the screenplay.
No, it is fantastic. I get it. It would be much. It's much nicer to have these couple of traits that Alex Murphy had before he became RoboCop, just sort of slowly included in there, so that you as the viewer look at it. Because I remember watching RoboCop for the first time and seeing that little gun flip trick, put it back in its holster. Like, hang on a second, I don't think a robot would willingly do that.
Yeah. It's little C's that you pick up on, don't you? For me, my favourite scene is probably the fight scene between Murphy and Ed 209, because it's not just because it's a brilliantly handled action scene, but when you really break it down, at the core of the action scene is Bob Morton's creation, being RoboCop, versus Dick Jones's creation, Ed 209. So even though at that point in the story, Bob Morton, spoilers, is dead,
yes,
RoboCop is Bob Morton's creation, so he's fighting for him, and Ed 209 is fighting for Dick Jones, and so it's actually quite a clever interplay of 4 characters actually instead of 2. And I really want an Ed 209 toy, man, because for me that is the ultimate cute puppy kind of robot right there. Even though it's menacing and it kills Kenny, it's still such a cute puppy.
One that just sort of says to you, "You have 20 seconds to comply. Drop your weapon." Can you imagine how cool that would be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What are you doing parked on private property? You have 20 seconds to move your vehicle. This show is quickly becoming the quotes show, isn't it, Gibbsy?
The quote show. You're damn straight.
Exactly. But yeah, you mentioned the heart and soul of the film is obviously RoboCop, but I think it's been said 1,000 times before, but it has to be said that it is a satire, isn't it? Through and through.
Oh yeah.
It's really got its heart, and well, it's got not its heart, but it's got its eyes on criticizing America. And
I remember there was something that you told me after I'd watched the RoboCop for the first time, and you sort of said that it was Paul Verhoeven's take on what America is in his eyes, because he's not an American man, is he? I think he's from the Netherlands or something like that.
That's right. He's Dutch, and he's kind of crazy and talks like this.
But yeah, it's like there's a big, a big corporation at the top of the ladder, and it's the Detroit Police Department being run by it. What a bizarre concept.
Yeah, exactly. There's that great scene where Clarence Boddicker says to Dick Jones, have you got any weaponry or something? And Dick Jones just says, "We practically are the military." And that's kind of scary, because right now companies are being bought out, aren't they? Very easily.
Yeah, OCP, a product designer, and they've got arms to satisfy a crime boss.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, because that's an interesting point. RoboCop at its core is also a film about not revenge, but justice. And obviously RoboCop has kind of got its inspiration heavily from Judge Dredd. I don't know if you knew this, but it was originally supposed to be a Judge Dredd movie. But they obviously changed certain things around and had to make it different, because they couldn't make a Judge Dredd film, but the similarities are there. And so what you get is this kind of innate sense of justice from the film, that whatever RoboCop does, he's going to save the day. And I know that sounds kind of corny, but I love that. I think that's always why I've been drawn to it, is he saves the day.
He does, and he does so almost fearlessly. Whether it's at the beginning where you've got that montage, the driving montage of RoboCop, busting a couple of criminals, saving that poor girl's life, for example, just without any fear of being shot or anything, because he's a cyborg.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Yost Ficano, the director of photography, has to be praised for that in particular, especially that scene with the dick being shot, as I refer to it.
The dick being shot. Oh yes.
Because if you really pay attention to it, Jos Vacano deliberately implemented a lot of low-angle shots, so you're always looking up at RoboCop, so he always looks huge and bigger than any man. I think I may be wrong, but I think height-wise, RoboCop is over 6 foot, so of course he's going to be taller than a lot of people. And you really get that sense that as soon as he hits the street, he cleans up crime like a cleaner cleans up a dirty floor.
Yeah, he's super efficient with the way that, from what we've been shown within RoboCop, he's really efficient at combating crime and sort of solving those issues.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of crimes, do you have a favourite scene when he solves crime?
Do you have a favourite scene when he solves crime?
Yeah.
I think my favourite. Well, I don't know if you consider it a solve, but it's got to be the cocaine factory.
That scene is phenomenal.
It's amazing. The cinematography and the music to accompany it is. Yeah. I love every second of that. It's proper. It's if you're watching RoboCop for it to be an action movie, this is the scene for you. Just a couple of minutes of lots of gunfire and you're watching RoboCop just sort of almost 360. You walk around the place, shooting people left and right.
It's a crescendo of sorts as well, especially sonically, as you said. The music in RoboCop is phenomenal. I don't think anyone could argue that Basil Poledouris' score is perfect for the film. And I think what makes that scene so great in the rock shop is the scene previously is RoboCop interrogating Leon Nash in the dance club scene. Do you remember where Leon tries to kick him in the balls?
Oh yes.
Where's Clarence Boddicker?
that was quite good. I liked that scene as well.
Yeah, and it's this little detail I've noticed the more I watch RoboCop is that there are certain parts of the script that allow you to fill in the gaps. So simply hearing Murphy ask Leon Nash, "Where's Clarence Boddicker?" and then drag him, through the dance club, you really get the sense, okay, he clearly worked out where Clarence is. So we transition to the rock shop. He's trying to negotiate a business deal with Sal, who loves his red wine, doesn't he?
Oh yes.
And RoboCop suddenly crashes in, and you actually don't see it coming. I remember watching it when I was 13, and I never saw RoboCop coming into that scene, trying to bang the door open.
No, it's always just... You're coming with me. I like the use of music within that one, not just because it's an amazing soundtrack. Rock Shop is probably one of my favourites, but it's sort of written and it's performed a lot slower than a lot of the other tracks that use the same motif, which I think is an interesting contradiction to what would typically have more action-based music, potentially fast-paced, more involvement with things like percussion or heavier instruments, but there isn't any of that there, and I quite like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think I'm just starting to realise that when he hits the streets for the first time, his march, the RoboCop march, it's quite slow tempo-wise, isn't it? No, it's quite fast tempo-wise, and then you're right, and then the rock shop, it's quite a slow rising crescendo of sorts, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting change of pace.
Yeah, coverage-wise as well. If by today's standards, if RoboCop was made today, there'd be a lot more kind of quick shots, wouldn't there? It'd be far more quickly edited, you could say. But that rock shop, if you really break down that rock shop sequence, it's just steady shot of people being shot and RoboCop shooting. It's a very carefully and intricately handled sequence, and it never becomes too flamboyant. It just allows the action to take place.
Yeah, there's no sort of ridiculous Michael Bay type explosions in the background, or not very many at least.
We've got to talk about the wrecking crew though, the gang.
Oh yes, towards the end, or
well, just the wrecking crew in general. I mean, once again, it's been spoken about so much before, but Murphy's death scene is horrifying.
Oh yeah, they've probably made a brutal job out of that. I remember seeing it originally, and I don't think I actually looked at the screen entirely. There are moments where I don't do cringe very well. I don't handle things like cringe comedy or anything like that. And they've done the same in RoboCop 2, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
But they sort of, things like the sound effects that included, and just the the action made me cringe so much. I was just like, oh no, I can't fully watch this. I don't have to, but
yeah. Because you watched the director's cut on Netflix, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, because there's this added shot that was removed for the theatrical, where it's a prosthetic of Murphy's face where he's squinting, and the camera pans around him, to behind his head where he gets shot in the head and he obviously goes down. And
Mm.
it's a horrible, horrible sequence, and it's really violent. But it doesn't hold back, and I don't think you should hold back from that scene because the whole point is he dies and he is resurrected as RoboCop. So that scene is so important to the story, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Without that, if that scene were to have been taken a different way, you'd have probably had an entirely different story.
I tell you what, man, RoboCop is nothing without its pacing, though. Did you notice when you first watched it just how fast it moves?
Yeah. Well, when I was watching it first time, I sort of, I was for the first watch, I was watching it for the rough sort of story, and so it moved quite quickly.
Yeah.
But after a few rewatches, I'd not only just through me stopping the movie and rewinding, but I felt like each scene sort of played out a lot slower. I don't know if it's because I knew what was going to happen roughly at that time or not, but no, it wasn't.
Sure.
It did feel quick within the initial watch.
And because every scene is kind of necessitated, and I think it's been said before, RoboCop doesn't waste a single second, really, does it? There's not a single weak moment in the film. It's just one great scene after the other. And I think for me at least, there's not really, aside from Starship Troopers, there's not really a film that can do that, really. Just be so consistently engaging and entertaining. Even the bathroom scene, which might turn a lot of people off, but hey.
Hey, it happens. But no, I will admit, a film with, as you say, no, one that keeps you watching it for every single second is rare. And I've seen a few things recently on Netflix. I even watched something like Sherlock Holmes. I rewatched that recently. But even something as great as that, there are a couple of moments where I thought, this is not the most interesting. But RoboCop's kept me engaged throughout the entirety of it. It's like 1 hour and 40 minutes, something like that.
1 hour and 43. I've got the DVD here. Shall I awkwardly stretch back and check?
Yes, the casual flex of the. Here we are.
Of course. Oh, it says on the RoboCop DVD that it's only 99 minutes, so it's even shorter. That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Might not be the director's cut. We never know.
That's there you go. That explains why. Yeah, the director's cut is significantly stronger. It really is. Have you seen The Thing?
I haven't seen The Thing. No.
Have you seen Total Recall?
I have not seen Total Recall, Stan.
Okay, sorry. I don't mean to sound like I'm interrogating you, but the guy who worked on the. Sorry, what are you saying?
I was going to say, I don't watch a lot of movies.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is the guy who did the practical effects for all of those films, and including RoboCop, is Rob Bottin, including the suit. And the suit is just incredibly well designed. And for me, the reason why I think RoboCop is such an immersive experience is because not once does that suit look stupid. Not once does it look dysfunctional. Not once does it look silly. And that is kind of incredible. What do you think of the suit?
The RoboCop suit, it's metallic enough for it to look like a cyborg, but they've kept it. I think they've kept it human enough to tell you, with not just with the bottom half of Murphy's face, but they've kept it sort of human scale and human enough to make you believe that this is a man that's been resurrected into a cyborg, as opposed to something that's just been created like ED-209.
Yeah, and I think that's a really the comparison is always there between Ed 209 and RoboCop, isn't it? Because one is purely a robot and it's stupid and it doesn't work and it kills that poor guy Kinney in the boardroom scene. It's a horrible scene, but it's kind of funny.
It's horrible, but it's kind of hilarious.
It is, because it's over the top. There's that great line afterwards where someone says, "Somebody gonna call a goddamn paramedic?"
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a glitch with the old man.
You call this a glitch?
Right. So obviously, right after we record this, guys, we're going to do RoboCop 2, and that will come out a week from now, depending on when you're watching it. But the thing that really brings RoboCop and RoboCop 2 together is Dan O'Halloran as the old man. What a performance!
I did enjoy his performances throughout both of the TVs or the films. Sorry.
I love that there's that lovely little moment between him and RoboCop right at the end with the "Nice shooting, son. What's your name?" Murphy, which is such
Murphy.
It's such an iconic line. But I really want to get back to the suit quickly because I've started watching the 1994 RoboCop series, which was produced by Canada, and starring Richard Eden. And the biggest problem is the budget. So the suit,
Yeah.
when RoboCop does this, you can see in his arm area that underneath the metal plating, he's wearing like a black overall. You know, like one of those pieces of black leather. And you just go, that's not a robot.
Yeah, it's a guy like cosplaying. Yeah, it's a RoboCop cosplay.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, I might even throw an image up so people can see, but it just doesn't look good. And that's where I really start to appreciate the lighting and the cinematography of RoboCop, because Jos Vacano was so focused on always making the metal of RoboCop's suit look really shiny. So whenever there's lights around, what's light going to do off a reflective surface? It's going to reflect and beam light back off, so it always looks shining. Like in the convenience store scene.
Oh yes. Fuck me. Thank you for complying. Was that Is that what he said? Yeah.
Oh, thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
That's the one. Yeah. It just doesn't do anything about the fucking the mess. Sorry, that he's just made in the shop, or the gunfire.
That wasn't RoboCop's fault, mate. That was the other guy's fault.
No, I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
And then you've got that scene. You've got the TV show that recurs in throughout the film. I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, it's kind of wonderfully
immediately after he walks out the shop, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, really, really nice little joke. And apparently, everyone in the future has a weird sense of humor, right? Why do people find that show so funny?
Yeah, who knows? Who could tell? I love how Peter Weller had. Sorry, I don't know if we're going over time, but I wanted to add as well how well Peter Weller had. You're talking about the suit earlier, and I really like how he'd kept the movements within RoboCop's scenes sort of as robotic as he could. You know, there wasn't much evidence it was a man walking in a suit that had been tailored for a film. It was a robot. You know, it was RoboCop.
Yeah, the performance is amazing, and it's so because of Peter Weller. He makes it work so well. And funny story, Gibbsy. Peter Weller was actually really unconfident with the way he was moving in the suit, because they were about to start production, and he didn't really have the time he needed to kind of rehearse and get into the movement. And so he works with Moni Yakin, who's like a mimist, I believe, and so he starts to create these bird movements and these kind of robotic movements of the head, as I awkwardly do it on camera. But you're right, that performance is just amazing. It sells it completely. And I love those moments even more when Robo is exposing his face. And you just see the expression of just kind of loss and sadness. And I think the family especially comes into play in the film in that regard.
I remember picking up on that, actually. When you've got RoboCop and Lewis just sat there before the shootout at the old factory, for example. You've got
looking for me.
Yeah, looking for me. But you sort of see him there, and you sort of see how sad Alex Murphy looks, as opposed to RoboCop. He's realised that ultimately, he's now become a cyborg cop, and that he hasn't got a family he can really return to.
Yeah, I think the quote is. Yeah, the quote is, from memory, I can feel them, but I can't remember them, which is extremely sad. And one of my favourite scenes in the film, aside from every bloody scene in the film, is when he goes to his home, Primrose Lane, and he sees that his wife is gone, his child's gone. It's just an empty house. I believe someone referred to it as like the Paradise Lost of... I think it was Ed Neumeyer, the writer. He referred to it as Paradise Lost, where he goes back and he sees nothing there. That part of his life is completely done. And the editing, especially with, I really have to tell you something, I love you. The way they bring that back in that scene, it really hits you. It's a film about a guy who comes back as a robot cop, but it hits you, doesn't it?
It does. And when I first watched it, at that point, a tear did come into my eye, I will admit.
You are a true man, sir. You are a true man.
No shame, no shame.
We are coming to the end of the episode on RoboCop, but I think the best place to end it is where RoboCop ends itself. And I know we've mentioned it already, but how perfect of an ending is Murphy? Done. Leave it.
Sir, with some nice commentary, sir. What's your name?
Of course. Commentary? What are you on about?
I was talking to you. I was hoping we were going to do our own little... I was like, nice commentary, sir. What's your name, son?
You are so embarrassing, Gibbsy. No, I'm joking. But no, yeah, we are coming to an end as Gibbsy awkwardly steers us into that direction. Guys, this has been our first episode of Monday Movies, released every Monday. If you didn't know, if you are unfortunately a little bit silly and didn't notice that it is called Monday Movies. But we will be in the future talking about more movies. We are about to record our RoboCop 2 episode, and that will be, depending on when you watch it, pretty bloody soon. So Gibbsy, thanks for your time, mate. Where can we find you?
No problem. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure. And you can find me. I'm only really active on YouTube at the moment. So you can subscribe to my channel if you're looking for music and audio related stuff. Which is TGMA Productions. Stan will probably put a link in the description or something like that. And I shall do the same for his channel.
Well, indeed, guys, if you want more content like this, please subscribe or do anything that you like. I don't really care if you like, if you don't, if you subscribe, if you don't, I couldn't care less. But if you do, it helps out the channel and it means that we can tell that you're enjoying this content. So thank you very much for your time, guys. We shall see you in the next episode.
Indeed. Take care.